see. Did that work? Whatever. Now, can you see me scrolling this?
It appears to be very small. Can you enlarge?
Yeah, well, I can make it bigger, obviously, right? How's that? Bigger? I just want to show people my watch list because they're going to ask me, well, how do you do all this? So now, is it larger?
No, it's still pretty small.
Yeah.
And I guess since we have people coming in as attendees, we can get started in a minute. Um, Thanks everyone for joining us. We started a little bit early today because some people, if they're waiting for 5 minutes, they get kicked out. So we've been starting them sort of as close to on the hour as possible. So thanks so much for joining us. This is interesting today. We have something unique, a special guest that we're going to try and do a live interview with Thom Calandra from the Calandra Report. Many of you probably know him from his newsletter, and he's been in the markets for a long time. He knows a lot about mining and biotech, so it's an exciting day to get to ask an expert a bunch of questions and hear his top picks. Before we get started, as always, there will be a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to put your Q&A in the box at the bottom, and we will be having some special guests come over and join us in the panel room. So if your name gets called and you want to come join us and we can't find you, just click your raised hand. It'll make it easier for us to transition you over. And there will contain forward-looking statements in this presentation. You can check out the disclosures on Adelaide Capital's website. And with that out of the way, hi, Thom.
Oh, hi, Deb. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for setting this up. This is fun. Usually it's just a straight interview with some television station or something. And now we get a chance to have some of the Calandra Report subscribers and executives, geologists, scientists, who knows,
Yeah,
participate.
I
So
think
there
a
you
lot of
go.
people read your writing, but it'll be nice to hear you talk about your top picks and some of the stories you have in the mining industry. So maybe just for anyone that doesn't know who you are, you can give a little bit of background on yourself and your career and what you do now.
Oh yeah. Well, the Calandra Report now, uh, it has a fairly large audience, but I was a lifelong journalist, and then in the mid '90s, I started Market Watch with a few other people that that were brilliant. And so I was the editor in chief, the researcher, the commentator, the broadcaster, the guy who was on television and radio, and you know, dyed my hair gold when gold passed like $500, literally. And then, so I got quite an audience there, and fortunately and unfortunately, I had a lot of influence back then, and got me into a little trouble once. But you know what? We're rocking now. I we all pay for our mistakes, and I did mine. So I've worked for a lot of newspapers, television, magazines. You name them, I've been there. Right? Probably USA Today, San Francisco Examiner, where I met one of the founders of Market Watch along with me, Larry Kramer, and many other newspapers around the country and around the world. So back then I was known for tech. Now I'm known for natural resources and life sciences. And the audience that we have, the Calandra Report audience, it's a, I try to keep it homey. I'm not. I love what I do. I love going to see sites. I love participating in not just metals and metals discovery, but also science. The science of cancer, the science of diagnostics, which are becoming more and more important with, as we see different technologies evolve. So, and I live in California with my family, and anybody who wants to tour the house, I'm happy to show them. Anyway, there you go.
Tom, I'm going to get you to zoom out. I think that might be the issue with the screen share. Can you zoom out of your screen? I think you were just trying to show us some of your top picks.
Yeah, is that, you mean you don't want me to share it now?
I do, but it's just difficult to see. Or maybe we can stop screen sharing and try again. Sometimes there's little.
Does that help when I do this?
No, it's.
Oh, no, you're saying, so zoom out like this, like that?
I'm not sure why it's just showing as a small box.
Huh.
I can't see it. But maybe we can stop sharing and try again.
Hit stop sharing. Okay, I will stop share. So I stop the share. And then you want me to
Pull it up again, maybe.
start it again? Okay, I will.
See how that goes for us.
Well, we're already getting questions. That's good.
Yeah. I want to kick off with a couple questions though. So you were talking about site visits before and how much you enjoy them. What was your favorite site visit or the most notable one?
Oh boy, these questions like what was the best, what was the worst? I'll tell you something. When I started going back to Colombia, I lived in Medellin for a short period as an English teacher way, way long ago. But when I started going back to Colombia because the Antioquia Gold Belt was getting exciting, I'll tell you, every single trip I made to Colombia was just outstanding, whether it was with, most of the stuff was in Antioquia, which is the state or the province where most of the gold companies that I was interested in were. And such a beautiful country and beautiful people that I would say that even the worst company that I saw in Colombia was a great trip just because I was in Colombia. But in terms of like learning and just not just learning, but also giving me the confidence to invest alongside the people who started these things. I'd have to say Ivanhoe Mines, not just Ivanhoe Mines Africa, which is our largest natural resources holding, but back then, Ivanhoe Mines Mongolia. And but what Ivanhoe Mines has done now in Africa, both in the Republic of South Africa and DRC Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, it's outstanding. I mean, they've become a $7 billion company, and I've owned the shares for a very long time, as in decades. So I'm happy about that. When you see a trip, a tour, I tell the folks this at the Calandra Report all the time that subscribe. When you see a tour that's done the right way, you learn, you don't get bored, you feel confident, you feel like it's not being spooned into you, and you see things that you're never going to see as a tourist or as an executive just popping in for 2 days. So there's some background, but also, Deb, I mean, just right here closer to home, Yukon, Eagle Gold Mine, that was fun. I've been there 2 or 3 times at least. And that's Victoria Gold. Just tremendous brand new gold mine. So many things in Canada and Quebec. Quebecois. Our son just, recently graduated from University in Montreal. So, I had to be careful not to run into him while I was there. That's a joke. But seriously, anything I saw in Quebec was, and still is, it probably makes up the largest jurisdiction of things that that we own here at home.
Well, let's talk about Quebec. What are some of the names in that province that you're looking at, that you like, that you talk about?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the ones that I own. They're I own a tiny company, folks are interested, called Orford Mining. ORM is the ticker in Canada, or the stock symbol. And Orford is run by a guy named David Christie, and he's just brilliant. Alamos Gold, by the way, has a a stake in it, as do a few other legitimate producers or gold investors. And he's got some stuff there, not just on the Nunavik, but also on the Abitibi Gold Belt, that when you find an obscure, unknown, or almost unknown gold company that's an pure exploration company, if it actually does something, forget about it. Forget about your returns. I saw that today, by the way, this morning. As you know, all these assays are coming in from left and right the past 6 months. Everybody wants to have drill results. And I saw that from Fireweed Zinc this morning, also up in the Yukon, not in Quebec, but some strong, lengthy intercepts of zinc up there at McMillan Pass in Yukon. When you see pure exploration companies deliver on what they've originally promised, whether in private placements or in these webinars, actually deliver, the stock gains are tremendous, to borrow a word.
We actually have David Christie in the audience from Orford, if you want to bring him over now for questions.
Sure, go ahead. How?
Oh.
Well, there he is. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's not on camera, but that's okay. Sure, why don't you just throw in a sentence or two, Dave? Oh, there he is. David. Wow, this is actually working like it's supposed to. So, David.
Yeah, it's pretty good technology.
I just talked to you the other day and went out and bought more shares. No, and
that's
David's
good.
an interesting guy because not only is he is it a geologist or a geological engineer?
I'm a geologist.
He was also a buy-side stock analyst for natural resources and a sell-side analyst and a banker. That's an unusual combination when you're the CEO. So he gets his fingernails dirty. And by the way, the manicure shops here in California, in Marin County, just opened, so I'm going to need one of those. But he does it all. He does the paper. He figures out how to get the stock higher, and he's working on that part now. But most importantly, he does the exploration. So can you tell us a little bit about that nickel thing with the Bill Gates connection?
So we had a property. Sort of the start of the company was a nickel sulfide company, and we haven't worked that property since 2015, 16. But we've been trying to find a partner for it. It's a very large nickel project in the Cape Smith Belt, where the Raglan mine that Xstrata owns is operated. And incidentally, a private equity group that Bill Gates backs has now staked up a huge amount of that belt. We have a very large property position there, 663 square kilometers. And we've just done a deal with a group called Wyloo Metals, which is an Australian private equity group, backed by Andrew Forrest and Fortescue Minerals. And they have come in to earning up to 80% by spending $25 million on our West Raglan project. So that helps us push that thing ahead. We're carried till they finish feasibility study on it. So it's a great deal for Orford shareholders, and we will operate that project for the foreseeable future. So yeah, we're very excited about that.
Right, and as you said, there are big investors looking for battery metals like that Bill Gates group, Cobalt, in not just in Quebec, everywhere in the world. But
yep.
And then of course you have exposure to gold. We're not going to let everyone run for a long time because I want to find room for other people. But I'd have to say that Orford, I have great expectations. But if it doesn't meet those great expectations, I'm not going to pin it on Dave in this case, because there are a lot of factors that go into great exploration, and sometimes the fundamentals justify the stock price, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes, as we know, there are companies in Quebec, Orford, Azimuth, right? Jean-Marc Lallande's Azimuth, that still are way below fair value. I mean, forget about it. And when these things start to reach fair value in terms of the equity price, once again, not to hearken to my New York City roots from long ago, but forget about it. Forget about it.
Well, Thom, that's why we have many irons in the fire, specifically our Kigavik new gold district, also in the Cape Smith belt. So lots of new and exciting things at Orford that have a potential to hit and to be exciting going forward, including the nickel project. So lots going on there.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. It's nice to meet you, David. I don't think we've met in the past.
No, I don't think so. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. One of the things that we look for is strong management teams, and looking through your management team and board, you've done a good job putting together a great group of people to advance the project, and you've kept your share structure really tight, which we also like. So yeah, looking forward to following the story a little bit more. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you.
Questions for David?
Oh, I think I'm all questioned out on David from the other day.
Oh, thank you. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, Thom. Thank you.
Hey, pleasure, David.
Who else did you want to talk to today, Thom?
Well, who's on the list?
Well, I see that we have Jean-Marc, who you mentioned with Azimut.
Okay.
I don't see Brandon from Fireweed, but I do see Neil McRae, who can probably talk to the results that they've had.
Let's put on Jean-Marc first, since you mentioned him, because Jean-Marc, besides being a doctor of a doctorate, he's a very unusual person. His company Azimut has the Elmer discovery, and Jean-Marc Roulin in Quebec is a computer scientist. He's a business person. He's an excellent geologist. He's using 80 million bytes of information gathered on all Quebec mineral properties, all. By the way, Azimut's the largest holder, public company that holds tracts, concessions, claims in Quebec, the largest in terms of the number of properties. Jean-Marc Roulin has a kind of a very structured way of looking at these things, not a typical way. As he said once to me, our rock's agnostic. I couldn't sleep that night. I don't know what he meant. But anyway, Jean-Marc, help us out here. Give us the 2 sentences on your beautiful Azimut.
Hi, Jean-Marc.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Thom. Yeah, clearly Azimut has a lot of upside. As you mentioned, we are the largest exploration holder in Quebec. We are a technically driven company, and really the short-term upside is the Elmer discovery, which has been uncovered 1.5 years ago. Now we are advancing very fast to the resource stage. We will very shortly start a new 15,000 meter drilling program to further develop the Elmer discovery. And essentially, even during the pandemic period, we are advancing very, very fast. And I think that year 2021 will be a great year for us.
And no, of course, I should point this out. Not every company that I cover in the Calandra report do we own or do I own, but I do own Azimut, and I own a lot of it. So that's, and by the way, hanging out with Jean-Marc Roulin at conferences and at excellent restaurants is a pleasure, because I learned so much. I get to improve my French. Everyone in my family except for me is fluent in French. So, I give it the college Joe try, and I'm happy that I have friends like Jean-Marc and his beautiful wife, Isabelle.
Well, I actually have a confession to make too, Thom. So you introduced me to Jean-Marc last week, and we had a call, and then I bought stock afterwards as well. So I own some Azimut personally too. Well, the way I looked at it was they've been extremely disciplined on what they've done with their ability to fundraise through selling assets or partnering projects. And so they've got a really incredibly tight share structure. They've got some interesting projects that they're drilling. And then you said the whole data thing, I think, was really interesting. Plus, they haven't really participated in the gold market much. So I do think that, you know, there's like, I thought it was a decent entry point. Anyway, there you have it. Thank you, Jean-Marc.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jean-Marc.
Thanks. Bye, Thom.
Bye.
And then I'm going through the list here. I see Tara Christie. You mentioned
Got to put Tara on because, you know,
Victoria.
love the Yukon.
I think let's just pull her over. And
How do I see that list?
which list? Oh, if you go down to participants and
Uh-huh.
click on it, then there's panelists and attendees. So if you click on the attendees box, you can stalk people in the audience.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Good. How you doing? Tara's from Banyan Gold, you know, and boy, did I make a fortune on Banyan Gold in terms of return. You know, thing was on fire, and then you know we've had a little bit of a pause in some of these micro cap and small cap exploration companies. I've been to um, Ormac, is it Ormac?
The Ormac property, yep.
The Ormac property, which is just down the road about 30 or 40 kilometers from Victoria Gold's Eagle Gold Mine, brand new Eagle Gold Mine there in Yukon. And Victoria Gold, of course, is a shareholder. Not of course, Victoria Gold is a shareholder in Banyan Gold. But how about, you know, pretending that we're on a one of those drones and give us the helicopter view here, Tara, for a minute or two.
Well, as you know, Thom, 2020 was transformative for Banyan, and we're planning for 2021 to be equally as transformative. We're planning to get back out in the field in Q1. Our team's already starting to get ready for that. We've got more targets. Our results have come back so far from what we expected. We've expanded the mineralization, particularly the power line. We've now expanded it by 500 meters from that original resource, which really was a brand new discovery in 2019, the power line. And now we've also expanded the mineralization over another 2.5 kilometers to a very large target area, which we call Oryx Hill, where we've got a huge golden soil anomaly of over 10 square kilometers and some historic drilling to help guide us. So, you know, we're planning over 15,000 meters of drilling this year. We plan to be the first ones back out drilling this season and really have a great year planned. So, you know, I hope our shareholders are watching and will be paying attention as we start to deliver more results this year.
Oh, thank Tara. That was concise. You know, as Tara knows, I'm always looking for, you know, these companies, these pure exploration stocks that are, you know, under 30 or 40 million market cap. It's getting much harder. It was so easy a year ago, right? And I'm getting lucky. No, I don't believe in luck. I'm sorry. I'm becoming fortunate with the timing, but now I have to work a little harder to find some of these things because, you know, they've elevated. They've been able to raise money. You know, and either add resources or add targets. And it's you know, by the way, Yukon, that area of Yukon that Tara is in, and Victoria Gold and Alexco and a few of those others is so rich.
It's going to be the new mining district. And I think personally, I believe that there's going to be mining in this district for long beyond the current expected lives of Victoria Gold and Alexco. We're hopeful our project is part of that. You know, one of the things I think that stands out is that we pick projects that have infrastructure, like we have exceptional infrastructure, roads and power lines already in, and also the geology to have multi-million ounce potential. When you get all those combined with a strong management team and, you know, disciplined use of capital, we're very efficient in our exploration dollars. That initial resource was $2 an ounce in exploration cost. You know, we plan to get out there this year and really expand both our targets and start to get it up to that threshold where the bigger companies aren't gonna, they're gonna have to take a look because it's going to be an exciting place to be working right beside two mines is a great place to be. So we plan to make it compelling.
Well, thank you, Tara, and hello to John and that beautiful little girl of yours. Okay.
Thank you. Hope we
And,
get you out in the field again. You need some more site tours.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to freeze my bum off, but yes, for sure. I love being in Yukon, and I'll be there again this year. One hopes with the
One
situation.
hope.
So I'm wondering. Thank you again, Tara. I'm
Thank
wondering.
you.
Yeah, Deb. How about if I just read? I'm going through the participant list, and let me just tell you real quickly who's on that's an executive.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to surprise you. So we were just talking about the Yukon, and I'm sure that you know Chris Donaldson.
Yeah, but give me a second before we get Chris talking, because Chris is used to be with Western Gold and now is in a company whose shares I've been buying called Outback Goldfields.
You stole my fire there. I was going to do the description.
Give me 1 second, because I don't want us to get all of a sudden run out of time, and then some besides Chris and Craig Ricefield, who's a fund manager who's with me.
How about this? Why don't you look through the list and I'll ask Chris some questions. We can take turns.
I want you to know who they are.
Okay.
Hi, the audience.
Hey guys, how are we?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm jealous. You look like you're in a warmer spot than I am.
Let me just say who's on. Freddie Salazar from Salazar Resources, Glenn Mullen from Golden Valley Mines, some bankers, some fund managers, Jean-Marc Rollin from Azimut. We have Jean-Paul Dow from Locrian and TDEG. We have Jordan Trimble from Sky Harbor, which is a uranium company. We have Leo Wirtz from Mexico, and also Blaine, which is probably one of the biggest drillers in North America, drill rig operators. Leo runs Mexico for sure. We have Matt Geiger, who's a young and very, very profitable natural resources fund manager, San Francisco. We have some very loyal subscribers that have been with me for 25 years. We have, let me just finish it up, Bob Archer from New Range Gold in Nevada, I see. Hi, Bob. We see also Tara from Banyan and Wes Adams. Oh, here's an interesting one also. Wes is from yet another brand new company. This one's Wyoming, and it called Visionary Gold. So, Chris, tell us now. Deb, you introduced Chris Ray the Yukon, but he's no longer with Western Gold.
That's right.
Give us the quick once again.
Outback Goldfields.
Yes.
Yeah, so excited. We've just started this company here in October and raised $11 million and acquired a package of properties in and around the Fosterville mine in Victoria, the historic Victorian goldfields. And the properties are proximate, and in one case is that actually adjacent to the Fosterville mine. What's kind of exciting about is kind of what's happening in the whole region. It's, it used to be the mining mecca of the world in the 1800s. Over 80 million ounces of gold was produced there. And it wasn't until 5 years ago that Kirkland Lake went a bit deeper and found this swan zone, which is 50 grams per ton, that what is old is now new again. So there's a bit of a staking rush that's going on, and a lot of drilling that's going to happen this year. I know that Kirkland Lake is putting $85 million into exploration this year on the project next to us, and a number of juniors like ours are putting probably another 75 million. And so $150 million worth of exploration should happen in 2021, which hopefully will yield some good news flow coming out of the region.
Yeah, I'm excited because also I don't know what the chances are, but we are starting to see companies bid on blocks, not just in Australia, like in your case in Victoria, but also I just saw that Altus Minerals, it's a project generator based in London, just won a tender in Egypt. Egypt's a very interesting place because there's like practically no one except one big company looking for mines. So did you want to just mention that real quick about the auction of what is it, four blocks of?
Yeah, so we're kind of sandwiched between, we got Newmont on one side, we got Kirkland Lake on the other, and then just to the north of us is a big auction block that the Victorian government is put up for auction. Rumors are it's going to be kind of an earn-in of $30 to $80 million. We'll find out in March who's going to be the acquirer of that, but it's likely a mid-tier or a major as well. So quite exciting.
Yeah, I would say so. Man, and what's the market cap of the company right now?
We're a little over 50 million right now, and just started our exploration program last week, and we should have first kind of drills going in a week or two. So when I come on Adelaide in a month or so, hopefully we'll have some news to tell.
Right. Yes. And by the way, your chairman is Craig Perry, isn't it?
Yeah, Craig has been very successful lately, chairman of Skeena and Vizsla, ISO Energy. And so, yeah, he was the connection who helped us acquire the projects and put the whole deal together.
Yeah, that's pretty darn impressive, I would say. Once again, folks, small, it's relatively unknown, as in obscure. And many of the companies that I follow and or tend to invest in, including Outback Gold Fields, are in that category. Thank you again, Chris.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care.
Great there, that's for sure.
Always a pleasure not to suck on dead body parts with you in Yukon.
Well, maybe we'll find something different in Victoria if we can get you down there.
Oh yeah, it's been a few years, but I like Victoria in Australia. What you thinking? Thank you again, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
I'm thinking
Deb here. Who?
I would like to talk to Jordan Trimble. I haven't gotten an update on Sky Harbor in quite a while. I think I saw him on earlier.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Hi, Jordan.
I think he's just being pulled over. Here we go. Okay, just takes a minute, I guess.
Request to raise my volume, but I always get in trouble when I raise the volume around here.
There we go. Can you see me and hear me okay?
Hi, Jordan.
Hey, how you doing, Deb?
I'm good. How are you?
Jordan from Sky Harbor, uranium in the Athabasca Basin is part of a theme that we've talked about in the report. And it's young people running companies, young people. Jordan, Chris at Outback, my friend Jimmy Longshore at Extra Gold, Matt Geiger, the fund manager, he's not even 30 years old. Jordan, I got your age wrong the other day. I said you were 2 years older than you really are, which is 34, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Right. So, as Jordan knows, I've flown over the property at least once, but I haven't actually been on the ground there.
Well, you've probably flown over it a few times if you've flown to Europe from where you live, but you actually cross over it depending on your flight path. But yeah, we've assembled one of the more dominant land packages in the Athabasca Basin. It's the highest grade depository of uranium in the world. We have 2 projects with deposits on them, one of which we're currently or are planning to drill in February. We've had a fairly aggressive few drill programs over the last several years since acquiring it from our largest shareholder, Denison Mines, who's a strategic partner. And then we also employ prospect generation. So big land package, and Thom, I know you're a fan of these companies, and we've been able to build up a big land package, and we've brought in 3 partner companies thus far. We just closed a deal with an new Australian company, Valor Resources, led by George Bach, and they're spending $5 million. And then we have industry leader Orano, which is France's largest uranium mining and nuclear fuel cycle company, spending $8 million at another one of our projects. And much like these other option deals that other companies on here talked about, it's for them to earn up to 70 or 80%, and it brings some cash and stock into our treasury and helps fund all of our exploration efforts at our flagship project. So it's an exciting story. It's an exciting time for uranium. Finally, it's been feels like the boy cried wolf for the last 7 or 8 years since running this company, but we're starting to see a move in the uranium names, which is great, and I think we'll see that continue through 2021.
Wow. Once again, I just mentioned uranium, by the way, in the report this morning, and I said that the uranium stocks as a group, the major uranium stocks, are at their highest point this morning than at any time since December 2017. Yet, as you know, the dynamic here, the uranium price is kind of stagnating a little at $30. It's a lot better than it was when the uranium price per pound was 25 and 20 and 19. But I have to believe that companies, small companies, Athabasca Basin explorers, that's a very rich area for uranium, are going to be discovered as the move toward clean nuclear energy continues.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. That's one of the reasons we've seen the equities move without the metal price moving a whole lot. It did move in April, in particular last year, where you had almost 50% of primary global mine supply offline due to COVID. So it just shows you the potential for supply shocks globally with this metal. It's highly concentrated both geographically and geologically. So you get a couple mines that go down globally, as you've seen right now with Cigar Lake in the basin, and you have a major supply crunch. But yeah, bottom line is a small sector. There's not many companies left, certainly not many active companies. There's very few active junior exploration companies that offer that next discovery. We've seen recent successful stories like Fission and NextGen and ISO Energy more recently. So that's what we're trying to do at Sky Harbor is find the next large Athabasca Basin deposit and also have partner companies that we brought in that are doing the same thing. So multiple irons in the fire with our prospect generator part of the business, but we're focused at our flagship more like with this upcoming drill program.
Right. I look forward to seeing more results. I keep talking about young folks running these companies. I see Derek Iwanaka is on here. He's from B Metals. Many of the people who are either whose shares I own, Jean-Paul Dow, are 40-ish or in their 30s, or even just turning 30. And I think that's terrific. Maybe, I don't know, do you think...
Why don't we bring Derek on? I haven't seen Derek in a while.
Yeah, is Derek on? Can we have him? I see him in the panelist section. Can we have Derek from B Metals on? Because, I like the multi-jurisdiction approach they're taking. Idaho and Africa. So, Derek, are you there?
Derek, if you're in the audience, can you just raise your hand? I can't see you. And Jordan, I'll put you back.
All right.
Thanks for covering us. I'm not sure where you see Derek. I can't find him. You know who I have never met before, but I was going through their presentation last night is Golden Valley Mines, and I see Glenn Mullins here. Hopefully he doesn't mind if we drag him over.
Yeah, and Glenn knows that that he probably is one of my closest friends in this business. I went to his wedding. I've been with him on site in Quebec many, many times. And he's helped me in Montreal, both with our son when our son was at university. His kids, his girls there are terrific. Most of all, he's a royalty collector and a lifelong geologist. When I say a royalty collector, I mean since the age of 18. Now, I'm not going to share ages here, but I do know that Glenn just had a birthday, like very recently, maybe even yesterday or the day before. Go ahead, Glenn. Golden Valley Mines. Obviously, this is what I call the Z complex. He runs the Z complex, Z. All the stock symbols end with GZZ, RZZ, which is Abitibi Royalties, VZZ, IZZ. You want to give us the Z wrap up in about a minute or two, Glenn?
Yeah, sure. We'll do it turbocharged, make it 30 seconds. How's that?
I'd be
Good. Yeah, it's dilution is the mother of all evil. And we tried to find a business plan that was anti-dilution. And so that's really the raison d'etre for Golden Valley Mines and Abitibi Royalties. So Abitibi pays a dividend, which is sufficient to cover all of Golden Valley's needs, including listings, legal, audit, marketing events, you name it, everything, exploration. And so there hasn't been any dilution in either of those companies for more than 5 years. So we're pretty proud of that. If only the rest of my world was so easy as that. And it's not, because the rest of them are struggling juniors, breaking rocks, prospect generators, hear that term a lot, but we certainly stake them, acquire them, own 100%, find partners, spend money, drill holes, break rocks, and repeat the process in Western Australia and Quebec and Ontario. So Valdor Mining Corp only works in Eastern Canada, International Prospect only works in Australia. There's the 30-second version. So we're very hardcore prospectors and very attentive to our share capital and dilution. And thanks for your support, Thom. You've been great. My gosh.
I'm a very long shareholder. I mean, I've been a shareholder since the day in 2011 or 2012.
2011, you were here. We went to Malartic and visited the project, and who could have imagined what it became?
And that on that day, you know, Glenn cemented the very first three-way spinoff of the Zeds. But Abitibi Royalties, like many royalty companies these days, is rocking and you know, providing a dividend. And Golden Valley Mines is definitely the cheapest way to own Abitibi Royalties. So GZZ gives you ownership of RZZ.
But accolades to you, Thom, for focusing a lot of your readers' attention on these obscure companies. I mean, you know, marketing is expensive. Doing trade shows in the pre-COVID world, that's, you know, it was very expensive. It was onerous. It was very hard to get in front of the right audiences, but you've so assisted with that messaging. And I can't even begin to tell you how many of my shareholders were actually introduced to us by yourself and your newsletter. So thanks very much, Thom.
Oh, no, the pleasure is all mine, because I learned a heck of a lot of stuff and also get to go to.
And Deborah for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.
Nice to meet you. I don't think we've met previously.
And also get to go see Montreal Canadiens games.
Go Habs, go.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Glenn. So I'm thinking, how about New Range Gold with Bob Archer? I don't think I've seen Bob since he was at Great Panther. So let's see if he wants to join us. Let me find him here. Oh, I saw him a minute ago.
Well, you know, these CEOs, they're just so busy.
He probably knew his number was going to get called. You know who I would really like to hear from, and hopefully he's done eating his lunch, is Brandon McDonald. Fireweed Zinc, as you mentioned earlier, had some really great drill results this morning.
I own, and yep, they had 4.4% zinc over a very lengthy intercept there at McMillan Pass. So zinc is great. That's why I also own Ivanhoe, and I'm looking at other companies.
And zinc's done really well lately. There he is.
Yeah, I dared show my face.
COVID beard. That's nice.
Yeah. So do you know the story behind the beard?
I don't. I'm.
So October, I kind of made a crack that I wasn't going to shave till all our assays are in, and I thought that was maybe a 4-week commitment. As it turns out, it was a 3-month commitment. so not all of our assays are in yet. So I'll get to shave this off when the last of our assays come in, hopefully in a couple of weeks. But at least we got the first of the assays in. So, you know, we submitted the ones that came out today. We submitted in late September. So literally 4 months to get those back from the lab.
Right. And Brandon actually in the press release, I love that this morning, said, he's young enough to still be entirely candid.
Yeah, that's right. Not hardened yet.
Long time coming because of COVID.
Yeah.
Long in these essays. And so you just want to hit on the high points on the on the lengthy intercept and the was it 0.42% zinc?
So 4.4% zinc over 210 meters. And then, within that, almost 6 meters of 25% zinc. So, some very high grade zones surrounded by a very, 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 very broad mineralized envelope, right? So this is in terms of grade width, this is a huge intersection. So we're pretty happy with it. And it's nice. I think everyone understood the labs were slow, but we still got a lot of flack on people assuming that we were holding assays back because they must be bad, right? What's the old expression? Bad news by dog sled. Like everyone just assumes that it comes really like you're looking for a news release to bury your assays in because they're bad. This pretty conclusively proves that these are not assays I would hold back, right? Like that's one of the best base metal holes in a long time, right? So that's
yeah. Brandon, when you're drilling for zinc, is that what kind of drill are you using? Is it an RC drill? Is it a diamond?
No, that was a diamond drill. And actually, the longer of the two holes, it got to about the 300-meter mark, and the 200, it was actually mineralized over the full, with a few barren bits over the full 300 meters, and we terminated it in mineralization. We just lost the hole, right? So we don't know how much deeper that mineralization goes. So it's a pretty intriguing hole there for sure.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think we told Deb, you'll find this interesting. I told our subscribers this morning that the guy who got me into fireweed is a very close friend and also a fellow investor in a couple of life science companies. Boris Kucon in Antwerp, and my wife and I spent the most amazing weekend with Boris and Tamara, his partner, in Antwerp about 2 summers ago. We were supposed to go back, and once again, like everyone, Boris said, you just need, if you're into zinc, which I know you are because you own Ivanhoe, you got to own fireweed. And I said, oh, I know fireweed. I've met Brandon. I think you might have been on a panel that I was helping.
Yeah.
So thank you, Boris, on that. And the stock's doing very well this morning.
Yeah, no, I think we IPO'd in 2017, and I'm pretty sure this is our largest day for volume ever. So clearly, I mean, look, as expected from long delayed results, it's both some pent up demand and some pent up selling, right? So clear it out today and then move on and onwards and upwards.
Yeah. And we thank you, Brandon. This is terrific.
Breaking about 50 day too.
Thank
you.
And keep it going because I'm very happy with the way the stock is performing, and I know that pretty soon people are going to be like desperate for zinc, like in the next 2-3 years, desperate.
Yeah. Well, look, that's the story of all cyclical metals, but projects like this, it's like 2 years from now when we're in a true base metals bull market, it may not even take 2 years. People are going to be wondering why stocks like this were ever this cheap. Like it's just going to seem like lunacy that you weren't buying more at this point, right? So
that's a very interesting metal, and also let's see it used more in agriculture, right, and get some more publicity in agriculture. Thank you again.
That's a favorite of Friedland's, right? Talking about the zinc deficient soils, and how zinc is in fertilizer is probably a underexplored market.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
By the way, Deb, I saw someone on here that I would love to get on, even briefly, but
sure.
Now.
There was a couple that I was thinking of that you told me about recently, which is John Paul Dow at TDG Gold and Wes Adams at Visionary, but you can bring on whoever you like.
Well, look, so definitely West, definitely JP Dow, and I just saw, is it, once again, Derek is not back, is he? Derek Iwanaka. Oh, Kelly Malcolm. Is Kelly on still? Another one of my young, he's from Amex Exploration in Quebec, and also a couple of other companies. And Amex, by the way, has been like probably since 2017 or so, has been my best performer in an exploration stock. Things up 7 or 8x. And they keep coming in, they keep shoveling in these assays that are like tremendous. They're in the Abitibi Gold Belt, Amex Exploration. That's Kelly Malcolm, who's a young geologist. Jacques Tortillère, who's Jacques is a Quebecois geologist who's very well known for a big find, I believe, in Peru years ago. You have Victor Cantori, who put it together there in Quebec. Wanda Cutler, and others. Is he still on? Maybe not.
No, I don't see. You're looking for Kelly?
Okay, so Kelly's not there. So then I think if Kelly's not there and Derek is no longer there, unless he is.
I haven't seen Derek.
I see him, his name, and if Derek from B Metals, and if Bob Archer is no longer there from New Range Gold, which is Nevada, we can go to both JP Dow and Wes Adams. Once again, very, very close to these folks. One of my themes, as our TCR audience knows, Deb, is that I will never, ever invest in a company. I don't care if it's life sciences, natural resources, media, like I'm a holder of Wild Brain, the kids' entertainment company, unless I know the players. So there is Wes. Wow. And Wes, I have to believe you're in Steamboat Springs. Wes is from Visionary Gold. Real funny, quick story. Wes is actually, putting together the company in Wyoming while my wife and our two no longer kids were there in September, but I didn't realize it. And not just in Wyoming, but I'm talking like in the same county and in the same trends. Now I was there because our family and my wife's family has a tremendous, beautiful working ranch there that's about half the state of Wyoming. And Wes probably can say the same about Steamboat Springs, which I see there behind them. So tell us a little bit about Visionary Gold, which I own. Not easy stock to buy.
Well, thanks, Thom. Yeah, I'm back in Colorado today after being in Wyoming this weekend. Oh. And, Visionary is a company that we just put together recently in 2020. And we're exploring one of the last past-producing Archean cratons that has orogenic gold mineralization in the entire U.S. So, Wyoming is not known for gold mining. It's known for coal and uranium and oil and gas and wind energy. But there's actually a lot of gold mining in Wyoming's history. And so we looked at this area called the South Pass Greenstone Belt and put together a 25 square kilometer land package this summer, and we've been doing a bunch of sampling with tremendous results. We're excited to be drilling in 2021 an orogenic gold belt that's never been tested before, but has seen a lot of historical production. We're excited, and Thom, we thank you for kind of being one of the first ones to cover us. But it makes sense since you're in Wyoming, right next door to us.
Well, yeah, and since I know you from Toroparu and your dad, John Adams, and John and Wes, the first time I met them, they were actually digging a road in Guyana, that's English Guyana, for Toroparu, which was the main copper gold project for Sand Spring Resources, and it took
this is kind of the same model in Wyoming. Totally different geologic environment. We're looking for higher grade mineralization here, and probably something that's not quite as big as Toroparu was, but there's still district scale potential here, and it's untested, brownfield orogenic mineralization. So different area, but same model for visionary as we had at Sand Spring.
Right. And by the way, you know, the Adams family goes back in the world of mining to Energy Fuels. Wesley's granddad, John, his father's father, Energy Fuels being now a well-known uranium company, and other mining operations. And Sand Spring Resources was not one of these operations that just kind of like disappeared when the money ran out. For Rapport, it was a real asset. It got bought by, it was Goldex Mining?
Yeah, they just changed the name to Goldex, and when Frank Justra came in, he's kind of carried us through the downturn in the commodity sector, and then now Robert Friedland is, of course, the chairman of it, and and they're still very excited about it. So, it's nice to see that Goldex is doing well, and we're happy that it's in good hands, because now we can focus on what we hope is going to be the next great discovery.
At Visionary Gold. And I'll tell you, folks, I'm not, I guess I want to stop, but, and I don't consider myself a promoter. I consider myself a researcher and a writer. But I think Wes and his dad and their team here are going to pull off something pretty cool in Wyoming, because you got a ton of artisanal mining there from, 40, 50, 60 years ago, even more, and totally undrilled ever, never drilled. I love that. I mean, that is a construct, and they're not going to disappear if the money runs out. This company will not just survive, but will be, a good foothold in that part of the world, Wyoming, and maybe Nevada, maybe Utah, maybe Montana. So Wes, thank you for showing up, and thank you for that beautiful week we had at Steamboat Springs when the kids were younger, and skiing and doing all that great stuff. Bye to John.
Absolutely. Say hello to the family, Thom. Thank
Wes,
you.
before you go, I see that you've been strengthening your board recently, and you added Drew Clark a week or two ago.
We did, yeah. Drew actually was an analyst at Byron Securities, and he covered us at Sand Spring. So I've known Drew for about 10 years. We're very good friends.
Well, I first met
you. I've watched their progress at Metalla Royalty, which has just been an incredible company. Got to meet E.B. Tucker because we actually share a few of Metalla's large shareholders are actually people that are backing Visionary right now. So we're very happy that Drew joined the board, and are excited to have him as a part of the team now. And we're going to continue to build, in 2021 as we get closer to drilling here.
That's great. Well, congrats, and thank you for hearing us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's really nice to be able to chat with you guys.
Yep, and we're just finishing up Yellowstone. Kevin Costner and all that. So. Ranch, y'all.
All right.
So
Take
Thom,
care, guys.
Thank you. Thom, is there anyone else you want to pull over?
Oh, I think we can have a couple more people pull over if they're here, right? Let's have Matt here. Matt.
Threatened to pull Matt Geiger over. Let's see if he'll do it.
Yeah. He's yet again on this young theme, right? Matt's the guy, the kid, the Ivy League educated buy-side analyst with his MJG Capital that stuck it out in the hard times, just like we did here at home.
Matt's a great guy. We actually met for the first time in Nicaragua on a Mako site visit a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was scheduled to go on that, and then at the last second, I had a commitment to another tour, and that was about a year ago, and I'm jealous of that one. But Matt and I have been on a dozen tours together, more in many countries, including Morocco, Portugal.
Yes, we have. Can you guys hear me all right? By the way, I'm struggling to get to pull up the video, but
yeah. We'll just go into it. But maybe just list a couple of I know your semi-annual reports coming out for the fund, and you've had probably your best half year ever in the history of small natural resource funds.
All right. All right.
Matt really is not just my go-to when it comes to vetting something that that I want to go into big, but his recall, his memory, his note-taking, his research, and his financial acumen, off the charts. So Matt, maybe just give us like a couple minutes here, and I don't know, pick your poison.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, it was a pretty exciting conclusion to the year, you could say. I guess the partnership's trajectory in 2020, well, we came out on top, and as I'm about to send out in this upcoming investor letter, we were up 113% net of fees and expenses for the year, which was a great year and our best since inception. But it wasn't easy, and you experienced this as an investor as well. During the depths of the March sell-off, our portfolio was down roughly 40%, and that's including a few private names that helped maintain the value a little bit more. It could have been closer to 50% if we were all in publicly traded equities. So extremely treacherous waters there. Even though it's the classic mistake, I think everybody had it in their back of their minds, that temptation to maybe sell some of their positions and buy back later at a later date. There were a couple days in the depths of March where that crossed my mind, but knowing from the teachings of others and the limited experience that I've had, we refrained from doing that. And aside from taking profits, I think in 3 what I'd consider non-core positions, held firm through that period. Then there was a 3 to 4 month period there in Q2 largely and into July, where we bounced back pretty sharply. But we really lagged a lot of the rest of the mining market, especially including the producers, the big ETFs, as well as some well-promoted juniors. And that was a bit of a frustrating period. I think there's a couple reasons for it. The first is that the construct of our portfolio is very much value focused. And when you kind of see a euphoric V-shaped bounce in a period like that, those aren't necessarily the names that are initially going to see the first inflows.
Matt, can you just stop for a second and just instead, I know this is good macro stuff, but maybe just talk real quickly now about a couple of the themes that you and I talk about all the time, which is, maybe it's time to look at other metals, or maybe it's time to look at producers, right, because of income. Things like that. Mention a couple names if you can.
Sure. Well, sorry to drag on too long there. I was getting to the point where after precious metals largely led the mining market out of the March crash, but we kind of had what's certainly a temporary peak in August here. But to close the year, we've seen base metals, battery metals in particular, really the rest of the commodity complex come to the fore and start to attract investor attention. So that's what really drove our performance towards the end of the year. And I'm pretty pleased we're at close to a roughly 50-50 weighting between precious and energy metal names in the portfolio, which I think is decent for this market environment.
Right. So Matt, we always have fun with this, but as you know, I rarely own producers. And lately I've been getting into some of the smaller producers like Victoria Gold, like Northern Vertex Mining, like Alamos Gold, which I've known for a while. And like Pan Africa Resources is a good one too. That's in South. And these are small companies. Some are like 100 million, some are like close to $1 billion, but that's still small. I'm not a Newmont kind of investor. But are there any in the portfolio right now, producers?
We've largely stayed away from production stage names really since the fund's inception. Our cash flowing names have almost entirely been royalty focused companies, which comprise about a third of our current portfolio. That said, we did add our first and only producer to the portfolio recently, and that's Western Areas, which I think credibly can claim they're listed on the ASX to be the only pure play nickel sulfide producer globally that's publicly traded, and very good balance sheet. Experienced, well-respected management team. And yeah, it's one of those companies where, when we next come across hard times, it's probably going to hang in there much better than most of the rest of our more speculative names. And it's also one where, if shit hits the fan here in the coming months, is possible, it's one that even if it falls 30%, you can be very, very confident to continue to average down and pound the table on. So that's what we're looking at.
Right. And finally, Matt, we share the same view on a few companies, including Golden Valley Mines. And, Matt does a great job of finding some of these things that are truly, by most metrics, if not all metrics, below fair value. So I want to thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow road and helping me to avoid of mistakes. And I'll see you soon. We shared coffee the other day at Fort Mason in San Francisco. That was terrific.
That was fun.
Thank you, Matt. MJG Capital. So, I also see my friend Darren Shervitz on. He's another well-known fund manager. He's actually just got named one of the best small cap, micro cap fund managers based in New York. If Darren's there and he wants to come over, Darren and I go back to 1996, and I guess he's not, but if he is, anyone else, Deb, that you see that might that we may have?
No, we can pull Darren up. He doesn't mind. I suppose if he doesn't want to have his camera on, he'll just keep it off. Other than that, we're running out of time and running out of people.
Yeah, I'm running out of battery. By the way, we didn't get a chance to mention. There's Darren. We didn't get a chance to mention life sciences. And
hi, Darren.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Would you like your camera on or off?
I'm gonna keep it off for now. Not expecting this. I actually just got back from getting tested for COVID. I spend 99% of my days here at home in my home office, and the one thing I do is I get some physical therapy, and my therapist just called and said she got tested for COVID. So, yeah, I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you though? Hold on.
Oh no, Tom's muted.
Oh,
Tom, you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. So, oh gosh, so all that stuff that I've been talking about. No, just kidding. Darren, by the way.
hi, Thom.
Hey, Darren. Darren was probably among the very first people that I hired at MarketWatch in San Francisco in 1997, maybe. Who knows?
Come on, in 96.
Oh man.
No, wait, hold on. 99. Wait, hold on. Let me do the math. 96. Thank you.
The honor that you just got, and the name of the fund, of course, is he's part of the Jacob Internet Fund Group in New York City. But the stock performance, the two funds that you run.
So we have, yeah. So it's Jacob Asset Management. I was coming out of school, Medill School of Journalism. Thom hired me out in San Francisco for what later became MarketWatch.com, and we worked together closely for the first couple of years, and it was a tremendous experience. And then I left to join Jacob Asset Management, which ran the first internet fund that was basically formed at the time, and it had a pretty explosive run up and a run down, and we've kind of built it back up, and so the internet fund still our main product, and I co-manage that, and I now run what's a lead manager for the Discovery Fund.
Yeah, it's hitting it out of the park.
Yeah, it's we've had a nice run for sure.
Top fund in the country. What was your return for 2020?
74%. Although I'll be honest with you, I'm much prouder of my 19 and 18. It wasn't as dramatic of up, but we had some big tailwinds last year. Sorry about that. In the two previous years, we had big headwinds that we were able to overcome. So last year I really do feel like everything aligned, obviously after March. But I did have a question. I joined late, so I apologize if it was because as I'm a layman, I'm not a mining person at all, and I read your
Right. And Darren, how we introduced you was that you have we didn't get a chance to talk about life sciences or technology or evolving technology. And
Yeah.
all of the companies that you own are in life sciences or technology or data or.
Yeah, the fund is probably I would say 70+% tech and biotech. And IMV is one that I know we both own, both like. Done IMV has been a little bit of a struggle. I mean, because I think some of their science has yet to kind of come to fruition, but I still have a small stake and hopeful.
Yeah, but I mean, what you're doing, the protocols that you use and the approach that you use is rigorous. I mean, you have a fiduciary responsibility to be rigorous because you're a fund manager.
Well, it's tricky because again, in biotech, and it's the same thing. I'm a layman, right? I love science. I love learning about, different diseases, but ultimately, the science is a little bit of my pay grade. So you have to rely on experts. You have to talk to a lot of people. You have to, I love it when companies sign partnerships with larger pharmaceutical companies, the small companies that end up having some sort of validation from larger pharma companies, because that gives me some level of comfort that someone else there who has done the science, who understands the indication, understands the path to approval, has decided this is worth making a significant bet on. I'd love to see IMV do something, more significant in that regard as well.
Well, here's a question for you, Darren. Clearly, individual investors, of course, this whole thing's going on right now with GameStop, but this has been happening since March and since COVID, right? Where you have small investors, individual investors, taking this stock slice approach, banding together and pushing some of these stocks on a daily basis, sometimes an intraday basis, sometimes so insane volumes, 5 times the flow, up 800%.
It's amazing, and I'm sure you look at this back in our days, back in 96 to 99 timeframe, and it's a little too much deja vu for my liking in terms of what we're seeing in the marketplace. And
they call it vaporware. Remember, Darren? Vaporware is like, okay, it's time to get another press release out because we know it's going to get the stock like pre-market by 35% or something.
I mean, you remember when we were journalists, we would break stories on certain companies and they would go up 100 and you'd feel good as a journalist breaking the story, but ultimately a lot of these companies ended up to be worthless. And I think there are differences what we're seeing now versus then, but there's enough similarities to give me pause here. I have a fair amount of cash in our portfolio, and trying to be cognizant of the fact that we've had this remarkable run, and a lot of it is being driven by retail excitement. On the other hand, you might remember irrational exuberance, Greenspan, that was 96. Market didn't collapse till 99. So 2000 actually. So it really is the timing of when what we're seeing now may come to an end is the big unknown. And it's rarely valuation alone that causes a market correction or a bear market. It's just got to be some other catalyst. And I'm always wondering what that might be. But for now, at least, it certainly seems like green light. But yeah, the whole GameStop. I mean, that is an unbelievable story.
Technology has helped there, right? I mean, the fact that you have these platforms now. I mean, I could share my screen again, but I'm not going to show you what's possible now just on your laptop, whether it's Gemini and Gemini Exchange with Bitcoin, or some of the other cryptos, or some of the stock slice platforms, right? And sharing information, the whole Reddit thing, and Twitter, the Robinhood team, as we call it. Well, that's helped, right? But you and Matt share a belief that we are almost uh, destined for some kind of comeuppance here in the overall market. Don't you feel like your bread and butter, small caps, micro caps, could still outperform? They're starting to.
It's a fascinating discussion because, like I said, since the last few years, we've had this headwind, which is unique in the marketplace, where large caps, the FANGs, the big names, the indexes have really driven a lot of the appreciation in the market. I mean, under that top layer of names, the market was flat for many years, and so really it happened in late fall, perhaps driven by a little bit by the election or something. Something clicked where small caps, micro caps began to do what they historically normally do, which is outperform the larger caps. You're taking more risk theoretically when you invest down in the market cap range, and for that added risk you should be taking higher potential rewards. So for the first time in a long time we have this tailwind, and so it is kind of this balance where I see a lot of things I don't particularly like in the marketplace in terms of the speculative juices that we're seeing, really driving in my opinion, some ridiculous, things happening. And yet you could see where we could be dealing with this rotation back into small and micro caps, which hopefully last a couple of years, and we'll have that tailwind. So it's tricky. I like to be bottoms up. I like to focus on companies where I think we're, the upside is tremendous and the potential is large. And that's all you can really do as a long only fund manager is try and steer the ship as best as you can through some kind of tough waters. So
last two questions, and then Deb, I'll let you guys off the hook because and we can always revisit this some other time again. First question, real quick. With all the borrowing that the United States and led by the United States has to do you think that we may see solid emerging economies, whether it's Singapore, Malaysia, who knows, tiny emerging economies, or Singapore is not an emerging economy, but smaller markets outperform the U.S. stock market because of all the borrowing that America has to do?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't actually. I do know, like in my dreams, my best world, the international exposure of the fund would be higher. We're somewhat limited by our resources. I like to know the companies, I'm investing in quite well, and it's a big world, and you kind of have to focus, where your strengths are. But I certainly believe that emerging markets are going to be a kind of ripe source for companies still under the radar, which is something that we like to focus on at the Discovery Fund. So hopefully, yes, I will continue to kind of widen my search a little bit more globally. So I think that's a fair point in terms of why the emerging markets might take over. I wanted to ask my question because I was getting into the whole layman. I'm a layman with mining, and I love learning about it. But it's really obviously a difficult space for me to get comfortable with. And like a name that I know you've owned for a long time. I met the CEO many years ago, Longshore with Extra Gold.
Oh, Jimmy. Gold, yeah.
Yeah, and I always thought like he seemed like in a world that I know can be populated by maybe less than ideal characters. He seemed like a stand-up individual, and yet now here we are, so much longer. Why does it take so long for these companies to actually, develop their properties? I mean, either you have something there worth mining or you don't. Like what
Politics, resources, price, unfortunate circumstances, incompetence, not on Extra Gold's part, geopolitics, the fact that you have to really prove out a project. I mean, I've been with Jimmy on this Extra Gold thing forever. In fact, I'm looking for my Gold Deposits of Ghana book that he gave me on one of the very first trips. I've been to the Ghana Kibi Gold Belt where Extra Gold is 4 times. And Darren, all I can say is if you're a legitimate company and you're not diluting and he's not diluting. He hardly ever has.
Right.
Going to happen, but you know what? It was painful. Like I said, it wasn't easy here at home, like living with some of these stocks, like Extra Gold, which is a very, very large position that we've had since probably '09 or 2010 or even earlier. It creates a little tension.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're up 10x.
Right. Right.
But you have to hold it. You have to be in it to win it. But
Yeah.
yeah, at the time, I'm sure someone else can give you a better answer on that. I was going to ask you real quick.
Yeah.
What do you like that you can actually name in a session like this that's still cheap that you bought?
I mean, it's a little bit tricky because, in terms of newest editions, we have to kind of wait till those filings come out. But it is surprising. I mean, the one thing I will say, and this shocks me a little bit given the environment we're in, is that it's still a robust landscape for finding interesting stories at still somewhat reasonable valuations. I only typically invest in companies on the initial investment under $1 billion in market cap. I like to microcap. I mean microcap. I think there's a bit of a wide range in our space, and what you define small cap is. But I like to go small. But with SPACs and reverse mergers, you're seeing some crap come out, but you're also seeing some very interesting stories come out and kind of avoid the traditional path of the VC IPO, way. Which so for me, it's been despite elevated valuations, I think broadly speaking, I think there have been a number of names that I've, one that we bought. I mean, it drove our Q4 in a big way, was Voyager Digital, which is a crypto broker. Actually, we bought it under $, now trading around $6. And there are just names like that. There's so much innovation going on, and I don't want to sound like the late '90s because sometimes you can get caught up in the hype and the potential, but there is still a lot of innovation going on, and some extremely interesting companies that I feel quite comfortable owning even in this type of environment.
Actually, we're having Voyager present. I believe it's in 2 weeks at our crypto conference.
Oh.
We only have 4 names presenting. We picked one from each vertical, and so they're gonna. I think it's on Feb 3rd at 12:30.
Yeah, Steve's great. I mean, this again, it's about, I've been interested in crypto for a while, and to me, this is a great opportunity, and he has the experience to do something that's phenomenal, and they've executed quite well. So that would be interesting. When is that happening?
It's Feb 3rd. I'll make sure I send you an invite for it.
No, that's great. Thom, I love your emails. I'm glad we've remained friends over the years, and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Darren. And my advice to you is, although I would never give you advice, is to watch the version of this when it comes out, because we talk almost all about mining in some of these. But I'm going to probably go into that a little more in terms of the length of time it takes.
It's just, to me, that's the thing, is like before mining, I did participate a fair amount in oil and E&P in the oil space, and I just found them to be, all they do is dilute, and they acquire and they dilute, and it's never about actually making cash flows. And so in the mining space, that's where I get some of my angst from. And I have a couple positions in the space, and again, it's about managers that I think are stand-up individuals and hopefully are sitting on some interesting properties. But I just wish everything would move quicker. It seems like now pricing is in their favor. So let's get the capital, and let's start the process.
I hear you, man. I want my Ferrari now. I want that right now. Thank you, John. This is and say hello to you, your wife, your beautiful family, and I guess, Deb, about it.
Well, thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
A really interesting fund you have. I have one question for you, actually. What percentage of your holdings are Canadian listed stocks? Is that a core focus?
It isn't a core focus. And we actually do own a little Azimut, which is a gold company. I don't know if you guys talked about it. We own Score Media and Gaming. We own Voyager, and we actually added another Canadian company just this month. I can't really talk about it yet, but so I think overall it's still under probably 5-8%.
Wow, that's great. Yes, we did have Jean-Marc Moulin on.
Oh, you had him on. Oh, great. So I'll definitely.
Yes, he was great. Thank you again, Darren.
Thank you, Thom. Thank you, Deb. Thank you.
So Thom, I guess I'll let you wrap it up. It was an interesting new format for us to kind of go through a bunch of different companies, but I like it. I think it's effective. So maybe you could give me your thoughts on the mining market and what you're seeing for the year.
Well, I'm a big believer. One of the worst things that I know I did, or my biggest professional mistake was trying to forecast markets. That's why I'm terrible at the macro. But when it comes to forecasting markets, okay, you put your cap on, you say, I'm going to exist in the moment, see how the markets are doing. But my secular view, my very long-term view, right, is that this is going to be one of those times where we go for not just years, but maybe a decade or more with natural resources. And not just metals and minerals. We got lumber. We have, I didn't mention American Resources Corporation, coal, metallurgical coal, well mined, clean mined, American and other sources, coal, for stainless for making steel. We have lumber, as I said, agriculture, water. There are going to be so many things that hit it out of the park. With the combination of green, graphite, Nouveau Monde graphite, right? Terrific, it's been a tremendous 3-month, 6-month performer. Anything that's related to renewables, batteries, metals will continue. And I think that we'll see the ups and downs, but just stay in it to win it. You got to be in it to win it. I guess that's what they call optionality or something, that there's always the option that something crazy could happen. Crazy good, I hope.
Well, that sounds good to me. I like that outlook. And I also like the fact that you said that coming on Adelaide Capital was not the biggest professional mistake you made. So
yeah,
always a pleasure talking to you. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to walk our audience through some of your favorite ideas, some of your friends, some stories. And yeah, I learned a bit today. So thanks.
Thank you, Deb, and your team, and look forward to seeing the video on YouTube. And thank you all, audience, the Calandra Report.
You're going to be a YouTube star just like the rest of us, Thom.
Go.
All right, thanks.